Decade 1. You are 22 years old, standing in a parking lot with a diploma in the back seat and a job offer that pays $11 an hour more than minimum wage. Nobody sat you down and explained what happens next. Your father didn't talk about money. Your mother didn't talk about feelings. You were raised to figure it out, and figuring it out is what you are about to spend the next 4 decades doing. The job is fine. The apartment is small. You eat cereal for dinner twice a week and tell yourself that's temporary. Your friends are doing the same math in different cities, and none of you compare notes, because comparing notes would mean admitting none of you actually know what you're doing. It is not temporary. It is the baseline. This is Decade 1, and the thing that defines it is that nobody warned you Decade 1 is the easy one. Decade 2. You are 27. It's 2001, and the company doesn't call it a layoff. It calls it a restructuring initiative. You get 15 minutes notice and a cardboard box. You had done nothing wrong. Your numbers were fine. The position was fine. The position simply stopped existing. In the specific way that positions stop existing when a spreadsheet decides they should. 60 resumes go out in 6 weeks. 14 respond. You take the first offer, which pays $4,000 less than the job you lost. You do not talk about this with anyone. Men your age do not talk about the box. Decade 3. You are 30. You get married in a backyard because the venue was too expensive. 2 years later, you buy a house because renting felt like losing. The mortgage is $1,400 a month. It will be $1,400 a month for 30 years, a number that feels abstract until you do the math and realize you will be 60 the day you finish paying for it. Somewhere in this decade, provider stops being a role you play and becomes the only role anyone asks about. Your buddy from college calls twice a year now instead of twice a month, and neither of you mentions the difference out loud. Nobody asks how you're doing. They ask how work is going. You learn to answer both questions with the second answer. Decade 4. You are 34. Your son is born on a Tuesday. You are back at your desk on Thursday because paternity leave at your company is 3 days, and 2 of them were the weekend. You miss the school play in 3rd grade because a client call runs long. You miss it again in 5th grade for the same reason with a different client. You are present for bath time when you can be. You are present for parent-teacher conferences when you can rearrange the calendar. You are not present for most of it, and you tell yourself this is what your father did too, and you tell yourself that like it settles something. It does not settle anything. It just means you learned the pattern before you had a name for it. Decade 5. You are 38. The market drops 40% in 8 months. Your retirement account, the one you started at 24 and treated like a promise to your future self, is worth what it was worth 6 years ago. Your house, the one with the $1,400 mortgage, is now worth less than what you owe on it. This has a name underwater, and the name is almost funny in how accurately it describes the feeling. You do not tell your wife how bad it actually is. You tell her it will recover. You believe this because believing the alternative is not something you know how to do out loud. Decade 6. You are 43. The marriage ends on a Thursday in a lawyer's conference room that smells like carpet cleaner. Custody works out to 9 days a month. 9 days is not a fraction anyone designed on purpose. It is what's left after the calculations. The calculations you did not fully understand were happening until they had already happened. There is a folder. It says divorce on the tab in block letters because someone in an office typed it that way and it stuck. You will see that folder in your mind for years after the case is closed. Closed is a word for cases. It is not a word for what happens to a family. You move into a 1-bedroom apartment. You do not call anyone to help you move. You do not know who you would call. This is the year you notice for the first time that you have colleagues and you have your kids, and you do not technically have friends. Decade 7. You are 48. The clipboard comes back. A different company, a different decade, the same 15 minutes. This time there is a word attached that wasn't there at 27, overqualified. It is a polite word. It means expensive. It means old. Companies are not legally allowed to say either one directly, so they say overqualified instead. You apply to 41 jobs. 6 respond. 2 of the 6 ask, without asking directly, why someone your age is applying for a role usually held by someone 12 years younger. A pay cut keeps you employed. You run the numbers on what that costs you by 65. You do not share that number with anyone either. Decade 8, you are 52. Your mother falls in her kitchen. Your father died 3 years ago, and there is no longer a version of this where someone else handles it. You are driving 90 minutes each way on weekends to manage a life that isn't yours while managing a life that is. Your kids are 19 and 21, now old enough that people assume you're done raising them, young enough that you are still, functionally, raising them. There is a term for what you are: the sandwich generation. The term is accurate in every way except one. It makes it sound survivable in a light-hearted way. It mostly is not. Nobody built a support system for this decade. There isn't one. There's a spreadsheet you made yourself, tracking your mother's medications, and that spreadsheet is the closest thing you have to help. Decade 9. You are 57. You wake up at 2 in the morning with chest pressure. The ER doctor says it's nothing, though. He also mentions your blood pressure has been something to watch for about 6 years, according to charts you never really read. Lying in the hospital bed, you try to think of who to call. Your ex-wife, out of habit before you remember. Your kids, who would worry and are 3 states away. A friend, and here the list actually runs out. You have colleagues from 4 different jobs, a brother you speak to twice a year, and a group chat that went quiet back in 2019. You realize, in a hospital gown at 2 in the morning, that you built an entire adult life around being needed and never quite got around to building one around being known. Decade 10. You are 61. The retirement number is not what it was supposed to be. Between the 2008 crash, the divorce split, and the years you paid a mortgage on a house you no longer live in, the number is real. It is just not the number the calculator promised you at 30. You are still working not because you love the work, but because the math requires 4 more years, maybe 6. Here is the part that is true and the part that is also true at the same time. You made decisions across these decades that were yours to make. A system was also standing at every gate: the layoffs, the custody math, the phone that nobody built you a reason to pick up. Both things happened, and neither one cancels the other out. That is not an excuse. An excuse replaces responsibility. This is something else. This is just the whole picture, decade by decade, gear by gear, which is the only picture worth looking at. You put on the same shirt you've worn to this job for 3 years. It fits differently than it used to. You go anyway. That's what surviving decade by decade actually looks like. Not a single door slamming shut. 40 years of gates, each one a little quieter than the last. If any one of these decades sounded familiar, you're not imagining it, and you're not alone in it. Subscribe if you're new here every week. This channel goes somewhere most people only ever carry silently.